successful women, we're crushing it. Maxed out 401k and Roth IRA? Check. Aggressive savings and investments? Check. Yet, the freedom our success was supposed to buy can leave us stuck on the six-figure hamster wheel, watching retirement slip further down the road. There's another way. Get coaching courses and community at wealthyu.com.
That's right. That's right. It doesn't have to be that way. And that really is what Wealthy You is all about. Just wanted to get you guys to get another sneak peek of our commercial that will be dropping and airing in the DMV, as we call it in this area, Washington, the District of Columbia, and Maryland. So good evening, everybody. It's Wealthy You Wind Down Wednesdays. And I'm really, really excited that you're all here because, man, what we're going to discuss today is so important. It is impacting so many women's lives, Black women in particular. And so we're going to be talking about the topic of student loan debt, and an exciting thing happened this week. And I was like, I've got to talk about this on Wealthy You Wind Down. So come on in, everybody. Introduce yourself in the chat. Let me know who is here. I know there's a lot of interest. We've had a lot of people register tonight right here on Zoom. And so we're going to have a conversation. So before I go any further, I'm Deborah Owens, founder and CEO of Wealthy You, and also known as America's Wealth Coach. And at Wealthy You, we're on a mission to help 1 million Black women achieve $1 million in net worth. And we do that through all of our courses, our community, and coaching. And with all of that, what I'm most excited about and what I shared during our 5-day Savvy Money Makeover Challenge that we just went through. And I'm excited because many of you took the charge, and we have an amazing group of women starting in Wealthy You. And so why I'm excited is throughout that 5-day Savvy Money Makeover Challenge, you saw a lot of women who, how many of you in the chat, let me know, did you attend the 5-day Savvy Money Makeover Challenge? Let me see. Oh yeah, hi Lamerle. Lamerle joined the Wealthy You Society. Hey Lillian, welcome to the Wealthy You Society. That's right. Vivian, the Jacqueline. Okay, ladies. The women are in the house. I love it. And I just want to, the names are many. Lillian, Dr. Sherry Poe, Beverly Bellamy, Sonia Burt, Danya Adams, Jacqueline Strange, Fatima Wills. Let's see, who else is on here? That is new. Lamerle Briggs, we just saw her. Stacey Ann Nelson. Man, let's see, Yolanda Gateway, Heather Alexander, my dear friend, Tisha Akimpelo, Pauline Stout. Let's see, and of course, one of our guests just upgraded to the Legacy Wealth Accelerator, Janella Fullalove, Altheria Myers, Robbie Blair, Deidre Presley, Alice Woods, Kathy McCrae, Cleopatra McCullough, Jennifer Tillman, Lillian Long, Jean Escarpeta, Cynthia Mack McMorris, Kimberly Gordon, Takiva Purdue, Regina Lewis, Belinda Primus, Jacqueline Meekin, Tina Davis, and Lynn Roberts, and Anastasia Williams, Darlene Bright. If I missed your name, forgive me, but more importantly, what I want you to know is that you're going to see an example of the power of this sisterhood. We launched the Wealthy You Society right after COVID. And so prior to that, I had inner circle coaching, sort of one-on-one coaching. And one of our guests certainly took advantage of that a few years back. And then our next guest joined, well, I met her many, many years ago. And then she joined the Wealthy Youth Society and now just decided to uh, level up into the Legacy Wealth Accelerator. And so tonight you're going to really see the power of the circle. And one of the quotes we used throughout the week was, "Are you in a circle with women who aspire to go higher and that you're inspired by, or are you in a cage and kind of just being stuck where you are?" Well, what I'm excited about is today you're going to see the power of the circle. And I want to begin by introducing one of these, well, both of these ladies who I have had the pleasure of knowing, coaching, and mentoring. And there's nothing more than I love is to see their success, to see them overcoming challenges and to see them succeeding. And they both are an example of that. But I really want to set the stage for our conversation tonight because it really, it aligns with that commercial that you all saw. And the truth is that in the chat, let me know how many of you got multiple degrees because you were told it was the ticket to the American dream. And the truth is that Black women specifically carry more student loan debt than any other group. In fact, their student loan debt is typically 22% higher than their white counterparts. And so for many Black women, the student loan debt that they were told was good debt became a nightmare. And in addition to that, one of the ways that you were told you could get those higher degrees is kind of sacrifice going into the corporate world and the salaries that come along with that in order to give like public service, these public service student forgiveness loans. And then if you worked for 120 months, 10 months, your loans will be forgiven. Well, what we know is that very few student loans were forgiven. And if you think about all the money that you gave, that people gave up to go into public service versus going right into the corporate world in hopes that the tens of thousands of dollars that accrued, that it would be forgiven, well, it became a pipe dream. And so the American dream really became a nightmare for far, far too many Black women who have a tendency, by the way, to go into public service jobs, whether it's in administration or healthcare or education, forego those cushy salaries in order to really make a difference. And so that's why I almost want to, I get teary when I think about it. So I get this note from one of our guests tonight, and they say, when can we meet with you? We want to meet with you because we've got something we want to share. And I was like, what are they up to? And I'm like, let me just clear my calendar. First thing, hey, it was kind of like a cliffhanger. What is going on? So anyhow, we ended up on Zoom, and they told me this story, and I'm telling you, I was just like, they were crying, I was teary. It was just like, this is amazing. But again, I'm sharing with you the power of the circle, right? And so what were my two guests this evening, what they were able to accomplish together is just amazing. And it really demonstrates the power of collaboration, the power of sisterhood, and the power of never giving up. And so this evening, I want to introduce one of our Wealthy You members. that I've known for, man, probably, I want to say, almost a decade, and the other for over a decade. And I want to begin by introducing Dr. Stacy McCoy, who's a clinical program manager. She's been years of an experience as a pharmacist in many areas, emergency medicine. She's practiced both in community health, and I talked about that in teaching institutions, and she's taught a lot of students. But she is near and dear in my heart because she has been a Wealthy You member for years. And then with her this evening is, and you probably all know her if you've been in Wealthy You or you're a Wealthy You member, a former coaching client, a wonderful contributor to she's paid it forward to so many women in Wealthy You, and has been one of our key speakers in our master classes for many years. She is Dr. Tisa Silver Kennedy. She's an author, a personal finance expert, and her expertise is specifically in this area because Tisa has personally advised families and students the repayment of more than $50 million in student loans. And it is with that I want to introduce them. And if you could pin us all together, Deprina, and we're going to have a conversation about something that they were able to accomplish that is amazing, and also something that just happened. And I need for all of you to lean in so that after you hear this story, you understand what you need to do to take advantage. Now, before that, I forgot, it is Wealthy You Wind Down. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, because let me tell you, honey, we need to give a toast to this story that we're going to hear tonight. So with all of that, I want to toast you as Wealthy You Wind Down. Get your favorite beverage, or if it's water, I don't care where it is, take a drink. And by the end of this night, after you guys hear this story, I'll be on this one and a couple of others. So at any rate, I want to toast Dr. Stacy McCoy and Dr. Tisa Silver Kennedy. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the program this evening. So are we spotlighted, Deprina, so that we can see everybody together? I just want to make sure. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can make this happen. There you are. Perfect. And let's see if I spotlight myself, what'll happen. Okay, now we're talking. So ladies, good evening, good evening. Thanks so much for agreeing to come on Wealthy You Wind Down Wednesday and have this conversation. But before we go there, before we get into what actually happened, Stacy, I would love for you to share with them how you two met each other. So how did you meet Tisa, or Dr. Tisa as we call her? Okay, let's unmute you. Hang on.
Can you hear me now?
I can, and let me make sure we unmute Tisa as well. Okay, perfect. All right. So Stacy, just share with our audience how you actually met Tisa.
I met Tisa while I was attending one of your quarterly sessions. It was a Saturday, it was during the pandemic, and she did her presentation. I watched her presentation and I remember thinking, there's no help for me, there's nothing, and I'm gonna listen to what she has to say and we'll just see what happens. Maybe I'll call her, but I don't know if this will work.
So I guess I got ahead of myself, because one of the other things I want to say, talk to them about what you what your situation? Why did you feel like she couldn't help you?
I so I at that point I'd been working as a pharmacist for 16 or 17 years. I had applied for public student loan forgiveness. I've been rejected multiple times, even though I knew I qualified. And I owed over $125,000. I was at least $125,000 in debt, and that was just my school loan debt. So it just felt like there, even though I was paying, so I'd never missed a payment. I paid on time every month since 2004, and here it was, maybe what, 2020, I think at that point. I was still being rejected, and I just wasn't getting anywhere. There was multiple phone calls, emails. There's nothing you can do. There's no one to talk to. And I just felt like this is it. And I saw her there and I said, I'm just going to send her this message. I filled out the contact form on her website. And I said, I don't know if she can help me. And I don't even know if anybody can help me, or I'm just going to be stuck paying this for another 20 years because it was set for me to pay it off in 2033. And so
Oh my.
I had almost given up.
So I do want to ask you though, when you went for that, and most of those dollars were for your doctorate degree, right?
All of them, all of them. My first two degrees were paid in full by Clark Atlanta University.
So, my question is, when you pursued that degree, knowing that you were taking on that debt, were you being strategic in terms of public service? Was that the goal that you had? And is that why you chose public service?
Not really. I incurred the debt in 2004 before the public service program was even in
Mm,
existence. And the
okay.
program came into existence in 2007. So I said, well, wait a minute, this is like something that I can take advantage of. And I was already working in the at the appropriate facility, because you really have to be working at specific facilities. It's less about your job and more about where you're working. So I was in the right place and I'd already started on the course. I just needed some help.
The program comes out, and I know that after talking to coaching thousands of women, I mean, one of the issues is you literally have to apply, right? Like, it's not like you can just say, oh, here, I've been in public service, forgive my loan. You literally have to apply and, go through a process, right?
That's correct. And it could be literally anything that takes you out of the running to qualify for forgiveness. It could be the way the person in HR signed your paperwork, the way that they wrote the date. It could literally be anything. If it was faxed instead of email. I mean, there were just so many really small details that they're using to disqualify people. For me, it was the fact that I'd been on this loan uh, structure that was old and outdated, and they weren't even using that anymore. That's how long I've been paying on my loans.
Wow. And so I just wanted to give the backstory behind. So you're a Wealthy You member, you come to one of our quarterly master classes, and one of the things we try to do in those master classes is really give you uh, access or exposure to experts in different areas so that if you're in a specific situation, whether it's a challenge around a job or student loan debt, that you really understand, what your options are. So you hear Tisa talking about student loan debt, you're like, I've been there, done that. I mean, I don't know, but you still fill out that form. So you fill out the form. So now, Tisa, you get the form. Then what happens?
So automatically, after reading the answers that Stacy put in, I just felt for her because I knew she's been in public service for a long time. She's done her part. But I also knew that at that time, I think 99% of people who would apply for public service loan forgiveness had been rejected. So upon meeting with her and hearing more about her situation and reviewing the paperwork, it became clear that she was one of those people that was rejected from the program based on a technicality. With public service loan forgiveness, Deb, like you said before, the basic, the most important part of it is 120 months of working in public service while having student loans and making payments. But there are also other requirements, like it has to be on a certain type of loan, direct loans only. It has to be under certain types of repayment plans. And of course, you have to work for certain types of employers. And in Stacy's situation, she had just changed jobs shortly before we met. And unfortunately, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program requires you to stay in public service at the time that you apply and remain in public service until forgiveness is granted to you. So it's not just 10 years of work. It's 10 years of work plus working in public service when you apply, plus working in public service when your debt is actually forgiven. So in her case, she had more than 10 years of public service. She had done her time. But because of the fact that she changed jobs and she had, one of the ineligible repayment plans, she had been rejected for the program.
Wow. And so I want to also give our audience just a little bit of insight in about you and so much of the work that you do is focused on college financing. And in your bio, one of the things that it says is that you've helped students and families repay more than $50 million in student loan debt. My question to you is, what was it that drew you to this area? I mean, this your expertise is so deep in it. Why did you choose this area to focus on?
It was the word wellness. I found myself unexpectedly unemployed about 12 years ago. And instead of just applying to anything and everything, I thought about what is it that I want to do? And I started looking at job descriptions and I saw literally one job that was what I wanted. And the job had financial education and wellness in the title because I'd heard so many times about financial literacy and people don't know this about money and people don't know that about money. And in many cases, people that don't have a lot do know a lot about money because they have to be resourceful, but there's not access to things like investing. There's not access to the tools to truly evaluate if a college or career school is the right one for you and for your finances. So it's not that people are illiterate or not smart. It's just that you can know a lot and not have anything to do. You have no way to use that knowledge. So that's what
Well,
led me away from literacy and toward wellness.
Well, I love how you frame that because the truth is that, financial ignorance is expensive, right? Like, um, it's not just illiteracy, is not having access or knowledge. I mean, think about it, Tisa. What other investment could you make, or what of other debt could you take out that would allow you to take out that much of a loan with no work, with no job, with no, do you know what I mean? Like, to me, it's so nonsensical that Stacy could have access to $100,000 loan with really no collateral, right? So I almost feel like the way they've structured financing college really puts people at a distinct disadvantage because the only way they can gain access, that Stacy could have gained access to that degree. I mean, Stacy, did you have $100,000 sitting around that you could just pay some institution?
No, ma'am. No,
Right? And
ma'am.
so, even though that education has provided you with an opportunity to work in many different areas of need in the healthcare, to teach, to help students, if you had not had access to that loan, you would not have been able to really go into that profession. Is that a good,
That's correct.
assumption?
A loan of some sort.
Exactly. And so now, Tisa, I just wanted to give them a little background around, the work that you've done. And you were the director of financial wellness for a significant university here in the Baltimore area, and specifically many of the people that you dealt with were, taking on these degrees, right? A lot of student
Absolutely.
loan debt. And so you then get this contact. And so what's your strategy? What do you tell, and what advice did you give Stacy about, what her options were?
So to be completely honest, I told Stacy, I don't know that there's much I can do for you because
Okay.
when I looked at her situation and I looked at the requirements of the program, I just knew I've seen these technicalities before, but I also understand the power of advocacy. So I told her, I don't know if you want to move forward because I don't know what we're going to be able to do, but I can tell you that if you want to fight, I'll fight with you. You want to fire off some letters to some senators, you want to pop up with some events, like I'm that person, I'm with you all the way. And I
So in
felt,
other words, you told her we gonna go gangster. Is that what you told
yes,
her? Like,
that's what I said. That's what we have to do.
we gonna
My
take our
parents,
earrings off, but it's not gonna be our earrings. It's gonna be our laptop, and then we go
yes,
we gonna
that's
we gonna
right.
do some things.
That's
We
what
gonna
we
turn up
did.
Exactly.
a bit, right?
Hmm.
Right. That's
Yes.
awesome.
So
So how long ago was that when you actually sent? So has that been over a year or so?
yes.
Yeah.
It's been over a year.
Okay.
It was before the election that we got together. And so we talked about, what could happen if one person, won the presidential election. And so we were watching policy proposals. We were looking at, who to reach out to, ways to amplify her story. And when President Biden was elected, that was a hopeful time for us because his policies have been much more friendly than the Trump administrations were regarding student loan borrowers. And at the same time, we were also seeing that there were pockets of advocates that were truly focused on student loan cancellation and also making right some of the wrongs of the public service loan forgiveness. I'd say late 2020 is when things started to look up.
That's great. That's great. And so, uh, I want. So, what changed? Right. So, what changed?
Okay, well, in October of 2021, it took a long time, but the law temporarily changed. So the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, as it was originally written, and the rules that were used to evaluate Stacy's applications, there were 5 requirements of that program. In October of 2021, the Department of Education announced that they would temporarily reduce those requirements to 2. So we've gone from the 120 months while making payments, while working in public service, while on the right repayment plan, and working in public service when you apply and when you're forgiven, down to 2 things. Those 2 rules, this is very important for those of you all who work in public service. The first one is still that you have to have 120 months of working in public service. But the second requirement is that you have to have periods where your loans were in repayment. Okay, so 120 is the magic number, but you only have 2 requirements: working in public service and having loans that were in a repayment status. So it doesn't matter what type of federal student loan you had. It doesn't matter what type of repayment plan you were on. It doesn't even matter if you made your payments on time and in full. What they're looking at is 120 months of working in public service while your loans were in a repayment status. So that change meant that at least 500,000 people who had been previously denied or thought they were ineligible for this program are now eligible.
500,000.
At least. I believe that there are more, but 500,000 people are now eligible for this. But here we come back again to access, because if you're not that person that's paying attention to press releases from the Department of Education or checking social media for public service loan forgiveness, then you're going to be left out of the loop. And this is a temporary opportunity that expires on October 31st of 2022. So when that law changed, I was like, Stacy's about to get it. She's about to get that forgiveness.
So here's the question that I have for you. And listen, ladies, I hope you're taking notes. I hope you understand that this is temporary. And that's why as soon as she said that, I was like, man, we really have to get the word out, right? So, it is only through October 22nd that the rules have changed where you only have to meet 2 criteria instead of 5. So my question to you, Stacy, is do you had already applied? Was there anything that you had to do when you heard that the rule had changed?
Well, the first thing the website said was to do nothing. So that's what I did. I contacted TISA. I said, well, what do you think we should do? I know I've turned my application in several times. It says right here to do nothing. So it said do nothing. And one of the things that we left out was when I left my public service job, I left at 119 payments unknowingly because at that time they wouldn't even publish
Are
a
you
number.
kidding me?
Had no idea. I went to corporate America at 119 payments. And at that point in time, they wouldn't tell you what your number was. You didn't really know how many payments you had. It was just it was like in a bubble someplace. And so I called them and then I said, well, are you trying to tell me that you're not going to approve me and I'm only 1 month short? How about I just pay you for the month and we just all just walk away from this? And the gentleman on the phone said, no, you can either A, go back to public service, or B, get a second job. So I have a great
My.
position. I'm not going to go back in there. So I went and got a second job. So all this time I've been working 2 jobs. So I went and got a second job because I knew I was in the right. So I worked 2 jobs up until 4 days ago.
Woo! Hallelujah.
Up until 4 days ago, I paid my payments, full payments. And I'll be honest and transparent with the ladies that are here. The payments were $1,700 a month. And so I was really struggling. There were people who paid $2,000, $3,000. I was really trying to keep up. So November rolls by. I said, okay, Biden, y'all ain't called my name. It's been 30 days. December the 6th rolls by. It's been 60 days. At that point, the Texas in me was like, no, 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 no. That's enough of this. I'm going to turn my paperwork in again. So we turned the paperwork in again. I said, Tisa, we're going to turn this paperwork in again. And I became a cyber stalker. I started stalking and watching all these different people on Twitter. We needed to find out what was going to happen because I needed some relief. I was antsy. I was anxious. I was depressed. I was crying. I was all those things that everyone is when you're deep, deep, deep in debt. So I turned my paperwork in again on December the 6th. I didn't hear anything. So then I learned one of the ways that we can, I began talking to them on Twitter. I began sending them messages on Facebook Messenger. I started stalking them until we get some answers. That's what was going on. And calling Tisa, I was like, Tisa, please, I hope you don't think I'm crazy. Then I'd say, Tisa, wasn't it like last Monday?
Monday night. Mm-hmm.
It was probably Monday, yeah. We started seeing waves of people. So when this happened, there were certain groups of people that were getting approved one at a time. Veterans got approved first. People that were disabled got approved. Just different groups of people. Last Monday night, that's when I guess my name had gone through and I didn't know. After all I had done, I didn't know. And I come home Tuesday morning, I'm logging onto the computer. I had gotten to the point where I had to calm myself down. I really only checked my account twice a day now. I was checking every hour. I had to calm myself down. Like, we're only going to check this before work and after work. That's it. Calm down. So I checked it before work and I looked at that computer screen. I said, something's going on. And I contacted Tisa and I said, something's wrong here. My hands was sweating. I didn't know what to do. It was like I was waiting for a breakthrough, but when it looked like the breakthrough had come through, I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. And so Tisa and I got to working together to make sure this was real. And it took us about 24 hours to be sure it was real. It was real. In fact, the actual hard copy letter came in the mail today. And you know what I didn't tell you, Tisa? Yesterday, they sent me a bill again. Honey, I'm not paying that bill.
I am done.
That bill don't come for me.
I am done. So, here's all I want to say. And I hope, this is for everyone who is either watching this live or will watch this on replay. Like, the truth is that you have to the fortune goes to the person who are leaning in and who have tenacity. Like, it's not going to happen. Or, many of you are trying to do everything on your own, but you don't have the expertise to do it. And so sometimes it's not not just the how, right? It's the who. And so my question to you, Stacy, is had you not, had this conversation and connected with Tisa, would you have just given up and not, so you wouldn't have went back and got that job? You wouldn't have known that you were only 109, you only had 119 payments. To me, that is the power of being in the right circle. So what advice, Stacy, would you give? And by the way, if you have a question, because y'all, I can talk. Now, if y'all ain't gonna ask no question, I got a lot of information that I need to know. But anywho, I am going to, in the chat, if you have a question or if you want to put in the reactions, raise your hand, we can take your question. Somebody said, I hope you frame that letter, right? So, in the chat, I mean, how many of you maybe have applied for student loan forgiveness and you haven't, been able to take advantage of this? Tisa, so what advice, based on what we've seen with Stacy, what advice would you give someone who meets these two criteria? Because as long as you did have those 120 payments, which basically is 10 years in public service, I mean, should you reapply, or do you think some magical thing is going to happen and they're just going to forgive it for you?
So I think everyone should absolutely reapply. There was a settlement with the teachers union, actually, between the teachers union and the Department of Education. And one of the conditions was that everyone whose application had been rejected would automatically be reevaluated. But if you're a person that maybe applied 3 years ago and you were rejected and you just kind of dropped it, then they're not going to have an updated count for the number of months that you've been employed in public service. So you definitely want to make sure that you fill out the application for forgiveness, because there's one application for everything now. You want to fill out that application for forgiveness, and you want to fill one out for every nonprofit or public service employer you have worked for since October of 2007. That way you will make sure that the Department of Education has the most up-to-date employment history for you. The second thing that you need to be mindful of is the public service loan forgiveness was designed for direct loans only, but through this waiver, they're opening it up to people who had other types of loans. So if you look at your loan portfolio and you have loans that say FFEL or Perkins or any other type of loan that does not have the word direct in its name, those loans don't qualify for public service loan forgiveness on their own. But through this temporary waiver, you can consolidate to make them qualify. So even if you have those older loans, do not be discouraged. If you worked in public service after October 1st of 2007, you want to apply anyway. And if you have those older FFEL, Perkins, or other types of loans, you definitely want to consider consolidating, because if you do not consolidate, you will not be able to get access to public service loan forgiveness.
Wow. So I've got a question for you, Tisa. It says, please share if there are any programs for Parent Plus loan forgiveness, which is a huge, concern of many folks who've signed off on those loans for, higher education.
So unfortunately, parents are kind of the ones who are just left out, of many of these opportunities. But let me circle back to just Parent Plus loans by themselves. Parent Plus loans can be eligible for public service loan forgiveness, but only after they're consolidated into a direct consolidation loan. And once they're consolidated, there is only one income-driven plan that Parent Plus loans can be repaid with, and that's called the Income Contingent Repayment Plan. It's a plan that's based on your earnings, but it's the only one that's made available to parents. So if you have a Parent Plus loan, you could consolidate it and you could pursue public service loan forgiveness. The waiver doesn't affect Parent Plus loans by themselves. However, if you are a person who has borrowed Parent Plus loans for your child and you also have student loans remaining for yourself, there's a possibility that through consolidation, those loans could be rolled together and your Parent Plus loans could be forgiven too. So it can get a little bit tricky, but the bottom line here is that Parent Plus loans by themselves would not be helped with this waiver. But if you have Parent Plus loans that you took out for your child and you have student loans that you took out for yourself as a student, there is a possibility that you could gain forgiveness through this waiver.
Wow. So one of our other Wealthy You members says, I have applied and am still working with Dr. Kennedy to help me see this through fruition. So, Tisa, I know that you have you have books, Borrowing While Black, that cover some of these topics. If someone wants to do like Stacy did, fill out that contact form. I mean, let's give them access to your information and how they can learn more about what you do and the programs that you have.
Okay, I am going to drop a link in the chat that's to the contact form. And if you have a question or are interested in learning more about consultations, just fill out the contact form and I will get right back to you. So I just dropped that in the chat.
Excellent. And it says, I have worked in public service for over 15 years. Can I add my private education loans to help me reach the 120 payments? I'm not quite sure how that was. I'm not sure if I understand that.
So I'm thinking that this means that the person might have federal loans and then they also have private loans that were taken out from a bank or some type of lender other than the federal government. So private loans are not eligible for public service loan forgiveness, the old version or through the waiver, because the lender is not the federal government. But if you have some of the older variety of loans, sometimes people think that they're private because banks were involved, but it turns out they were federal anyway. The key is log into studentaid.gov and all of the loans that you see in there, you will know for sure are federal. And I'll drop that link in the chat too. But studentaid.gov is where you can look and see all of your federal loans, because sometimes it's confusing and it's hard to know which ones are federal and which ones are private. But if you know for sure that your loans are private, they're from a bank or some lender outside of the federal government, and then unfortunately those loans do not qualify for public service loan forgiveness.
Let me see. I'm a practicing nurse practitioner and have applied with the Nurse Corps repayment loan program, but was turned down because there's an age cap of 48.
Wow.
So so could she apply through this program? I guess you would have to see if it was public service. What would you suggest for someone like her?
I would say first, you need to verify the organizational type of your employer. If you work for a hospital that is a nonprofit organization, it's set up as a 501c3 organization, then that means it meets the qualifications for being a public service employer. So first, verify the type of organization that you're working for. And once you verify your employer indeed is a public service employer, submit that application for public service loan forgiveness so that you can get an accurate count of how many months you have toward the 120 that you would need for public service loan forgiveness.
Wow. I mean, it's just so much, and you can see why you need help navigating, all of the technicalities. But ladies, I want to create a sense of urgency. I don't care what you have. You need to investigate. Just don't sit back. You don't know what you don't know. And so I think, why I had such a great sense of urgency around it is because that, this open window. I mean, listen, you've went from 5 hoops that you had to jump through and now you only have 2, right? So you need to hopefully you're taking notes, and you need to be investigating. Listen, not, like, this isn't just gonna, here's all I'm gonna say. And you guys heard me say this last week, all opportunities aren't lost. They just go to somebody else, right? So what I want all of you to know is that you're here for a reason, right? Like, some of you attended the whole challenge. I don't know what you came away from, but whatever you came away from with, then you need to act on it, right? Like, I'm in a mastermind right now, and we're going through there's some events going on, and we just came out of this challenge. Listen, I'm not letting that my lack of bandwidth and time block me from getting my blessing, right? I'm listening to it. If I gotta walk upstairs and listen to my phone, if I've got to record part of it because I've got a client meeting or something, I'm gonna go back and listen to that, because invariably after every session, I'm even setting up a meeting with that person because they said something that I need to know, or I want to see how they can help me accelerate. Like, you're being exposed to, so it's just like Stacy. Stacy could have sat in that master class. Girl, I didn't try that already. You know what I mean? Like many of you, the enemy is here. So I need for you guys to take action, but not just for yourselves. I need you to let everybody you know that you were just on this program and you heard that there's a waiver on student loan forgiveness, and everybody needs to go to studentfinance.gov or whatever that link was, and you need to pay it forward, because that's the only, I mean, we're carrying more student loan debt than any other folks, right? That's what I want you to understand. We have more than anybody else. And so while you've got this open window, you got to run through it. I mean, so much of the lack of our success is our inaction. I heard this today, and I just want you guys to get that. Remember, I talked about the intention that I got this year, right? Was there is a seed of equivalent benefit in every adversity. And then I shared with you that was one of the 17 principles of Napoleon Hill. And then I told you, and hopefully, see, you guys, I'm telling you, when you hear something, you better take, and so you need to go read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, who really is the father of all self-development. It's how Tony Robbins and all these other people that you hear, the origin of everything that they espouse really started with Napoleon Hill. But then someone shared this, and I forgot this, and I want to share this with you. I want to share this with you tonight. Because here's what I want you to know is that procrastination stops you, delays you, right, from arriving at your destination. Somebody needs to hear this, okay? Now, if Stacy had just sat back and said, that's not going to work, she probably wouldn't be in the situation that she's in, because she would have had those 119 months, right? And that 1 month would have prevented her from getting her blockings, her blessing. And so some of you need to get into position to prosper. See, y'all gonna have me start preaching in here, right? Some of you need to get in the position to prosper. And what that requires is for you to be prepared and have preparation, so that when that opportunity comes, boom. And that's why I wanted to have them on Wealthy You Wind Down, so that you could see that. And here's how I'm going to end this, right? The other thing that Napoleon Hill said that I had forgotten is what are the 3 words that are the most powerful and that can make the most impact in your life? What these 3 words can make the most impact in your life? And you know what it is? In the chat. Does anybody know what it is? 3 words. What do you think they are? 3 words. I just want to see. 3 powerful words. Yes, I can. Okay, that's good. That's good. Just do it. That's close. That's close. Suzanne, do it
Got
now.
it. Let's do it now. Let's do it now.
Do it now. Are you with me? But some of you are getting ready to get ready, right? And you're waiting for everything to be perfect. And you're telling yourself, this won't work for me now. And your procrastination and delay and that head, and that's why we spend so much on mindset, right? And Wealthy You, is because so much of it is up here. And so the point that I want to make is this, is that you see the power of being, and so sometimes it's not the how, it's the who, right? And so many of you are trying to do it all on your own. And so, all I want to say is that for those of you who join the Wealthy You Society, I wanted you to see the long-term implication of how these kinds of relationships and exposing yourself to knowledge. And I mean, Stacy didn't have to come to that master class. She was in the Wealthy You, was part of it, but she didn't have to come, but she showed up, right? And when she showed up, that person was right there. And even though in her mind, she said, oh, well, I don't know, I did that already. She says, no, I'm just going, you never know. It must be a reason for her to be here. And this is true for all of you. And so, ladies, I just want you to leave our folks with a closing comment. I'm going to start with you, Stacy. Out of everything that you're feeling right now and everything that you've been through, and you hit me with something about and we just had this conversation on another interview that we just did for our Get Wealthy show that's dropping. You said the trauma of all that debt, right? And how it was making you feel. Leave our women with some just whatever you want to say to them to encourage them.
It's taken me a week. I think it's been about a week. And I still don't really believe that this happened, not to me, but for me, even though I did all the work and put everything in. We never told them the number. So the number, because I had to sit here and
Yeah, let's
recalculate
tell them
again.
the number. Let's tell them the number, baby. I'm all about numbers.
Well, first, I had the number wrong, and then I had to call and advocate for myself because lesson number 1 at any HBCU is save your receipts. So I called them back. I had to get it together. And the number is $94,281.73. And
wow, that's how much was forgiven?
That's how much was forgiven after 174 payments when I should have been forgiven at 120 payments. And there will be a refund coming, or I will be calling Tisa and we will be advocating again.
Oh, I love that. Can you imagine $94,000?
It's a house. It's a house. And it actually gives me a fresh life. It's as if I'm starting over again. And that is something.
And the other thing is, you are a doctor of pharmacy, and girl, you working 2 jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, trying to deal with all of this.
And I didn't care what that second job was. I didn't care if I took out the trash, which I did. I didn't care if I vacuumed the floors. I didn't care if I washed the dishes. I did all of those. I did not care. I just wanted the problem gone, and I was willing to serve in order to get it done. And I knew that if I served, that God would repay me and that he would make it right. And so that's what I did. I didn't care if I was a doctorate taking the trash out. I didn't care.
Amen to that. And that's really what it's about. It is about serving and adding value to others. And so, Tisa, uh, leave our folks with I just wonder, like, the impact that you're making. How does this make you feel? How did you feel when you guys finally realized that this goal had been realized?
At first I kind of felt like it was my money. I just found myself walking around the house every once in a while, hitting a little, okay, thank just
You didn't see the holy dance that
just
happened
getting
in here. You
it.
did not see the holy dance, honey.
Yes, it just it's truly the heart of it is joy, I have to say, but it's just to watch so many people who've been going through this for a long time finally realize that the first thing that all of them that I have spoken with have experienced is disbelief. They can't believe that after all of these applications, all of the obstacles, the rejections, like it's just that simple as getting logging into your account and seeing zero. They just can't believe it. So after the disbelief, there's just this joy, and it's for me, I feel it too. And that just makes the work even more rewarding for me personally.
Oh, well, I just got to tell you, Tisa and Stacy, you've both poured into other women. Stacy, you have graced us with your Wealthy You Go model, just telling your story of transformation. And man, and when I asked both of you, hey, would you come on Wealthy You Wind Down? They're like, no problem. We got to shout this to the world, and we want other people to know too. So I just want to personally thank you for just being a part of the sisterhood, for continuing to pour into others. I mean, you've just really been such a blessing in my life personally, to see your growth. Tisa, to see you, leave one of them good jobs and launch your own business, and write your book, and the impact that you're having in HBCUs. And by the way, go to Tisa's website. You need to get her book, Borrowing While Black, where she really breaks it down. I mean, tears come to my eyes, ladies, and I just really, really want to thank you for coming on Wealthy You Wind Down this evening and sharing this phenomenal news, because your success means it's possible for others. And so thank you so much for coming on Wealthy You Wind Down this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I just want to end tonight by really, again, welcoming all of our newest Wealthy You members. And what I want to say is that, that's the cool thing about, sort of the work that we do in Wealthy You. It truly is a circle, and where we are inspired by seeing other people go higher, and by, seeing people reach their goals, because we know the impact that that's going to have on their lives and their families' lives, and the joy that it brings when people come together. So I just want to again welcome all of our new members into the Wealthy You Society. The doors officially closed on Tuesday, but guess what? I just want to encourage you. If you really feel like you've been kind of on the fence, you're a little nervous, we had a lot of those conversations, please reach out to your Wealthy You ambassadors if you have any questions. Our orientation is Tuesday, January 25th. And so I want to welcome you all into the Wealthy You Society. For those of you who are entering the Legacy Wealth Accelerator, then you know that our training is Monday. And for all of you, if you have any interest about, if you're listening to this on replay, and if you have any interest in getting into what we're up to, our mission is to help 1 million women, 1 million Black women get to $1 million in net worth. So if you want to be one of those million women with a million, then just go to our website, join our Facebook group in the Wealthy You community. You can also access free training. We have all kinds of tools. And just know this, is that it's not the money, it's the mission. And our mission, again, is to help 1 million Black women build their first in portfolios to 7 figures and beyond, so that they can achieve the level of financial success that they desire and they deserve. I'm Deborah Owens, founder and CEO of Wealthy You, and also known as America's Wealth Coach. And stay tuned. We really believe this is going to be our best year ever. More news on our new show, Get Wealthy, and look around for our new commercial as well. And with that, I bid you all a good night. Thanks for joining us on Wealthy You Wind Down, and have a prosperous week, everybody.